humor and laughter and joy are leadership tools for sure. And quite frankly, we don't use them enough in the military.
Welcome to Veteran Led. Today's guest is Austin von Letkemann. Welcome to the show, Austin.
How's it going? Thanks for having me on.
So great to have you here at Camp Cowboy. And now that you're in Texas, you're still in the reserves, but you are also now a social media influencer.
Yes. Yeah. And it's been a really weird experience because there's so few of us on active duty, and the military doesn't quite know what to do with us. The regulations surrounding social media are fairly vague, quite frankly. And so navigating it has been really interesting, but a lot of fun, very rewarding.
And you do a great job, but there's a lot of crap out there too. I've noticed a lot of people in the military try to be influencers and it doesn't work. Why does it work for you?
Yeah, I think that what has worked really well for me is people feel like I'm going after their bullies almost. And really what I'm doing is I'm making fun of people that just don't quite get it. You know, the person that doesn't value their service members' time, doesn't treat them like a human being. Like if you're the kind of leader that will be in their barracks room every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, but you don't know when their birthday is, you got to have a balance. You got to know them personally. And I don't know, coming up in the Army, intrusive leadership was like a buzzword. And the only way I ever got intruded on was ways that made my life way worse. And so that's kind of the people that I'm making fun of.
Yeah, and what I've noticed that you do really well is you capture the enlisted perspective and the officer perspective, and that's because you started off as an enlisted soldier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did just shy of 10 years enlisted before I commissioned, and it's kind of funny. Oh God, I can't remember what his name is. The accessions guy, he told me, he was like, you cannot fail a test and you can't get hurt, because if you do, you'll be over your time in service and you'll have to come back and reapply. And so thankfully I made it through everything to include land nav.
But he sucks at land nav, by the way. Self-admitted.
I passed it with 4 minutes. They gave us 5 hours to complete this course. It was Red Diamond at I think it's Fort Moore now. Did they change it back to
Benning? Back to Benning again.
It's Benning again. But so I did 10 years enlisted, and I did 3 years in a combined arms battalion, 3 years in a striker infantry battalion, and then 3.5 years or so in a brigade support battalion, and then I was in the NCOIC at a field artillery brigade. And so I've kind of seen a lot. You see a lot over the course of 10 years, especially as an enlisted guy. Something that still is so funny to me is there's 5 archetypes for senior officers, and you can immediately tell which one you're getting as soon as the new one comes in. You're like, okay, is this the runner or is this the chill dude? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. If you're a runner, hey, especially in the infantry, they love you as an officer.
Yes.
Because there's only a few things you can control, right? You can control your level of physical fitness, your appearance in uniform, and your attitude. But other than that, you really don't know anything.
Yeah, you don't control anything. God will spit on your plans.
Yeah, and as a lieutenant, it's usually a pretty crappy plan anyway. So.
Yeah, usually
they didn't need God's help. This is a bad plan from the beginning. Yeah, and I've been there. And so you're doing this at a very interesting time. Things have changed since I got out, and we're a much more sensitive force now. Mm-hmm. And what I appreciate about your humor is you go pretty direct at that. And as you said, you attack other people's bullies, and I appreciate that. How do you deal with the trolls or those in the military that don't like your humor, don't like you being an influencer, and don't like what you're doing?
Oh God, it is it's always better to just ignore them. It's always better to just not read the comments. I don't know. I just had somebody email me today and they asked me, have you been talking to me for the last year? They've been getting catfished by somebody, using my pictures and stuff. And so, it's just better usually to just not read messages, just not read the comments. And I know that what I'm trying to do is make people happy. That's it. That's all I want. And then advocate for service members and veterans in the way that I can right now, which is admittedly not a ton because I'm still on active duty. I work, 60 plus hours a week, but doing what I can and knowing that I'm coming from a good place and just ignoring anybody that doesn't like it. Like, I'm following the rules and I'm doing the right thing. So like, what do I have to be worried about?
And leadership by example. Sometimes we think it's doing what we've been told, but I think sometimes it's also seeing the need and following your beliefs to fulfill that need. When I think back to the gallows humor when we were deployed, people laughed at things, and yet you've been able to take that level of humor and use it in everyday garrison. I haven't seen that before. So how is it that you're able to just pick apart the things that happen on active duty? I guess it's pretty easy to pick it apart, but you make it interesting.
Yeah, like all I'm doing is like saying out loud the things that we do. There's been so many times in my career where I feel like I take a step back and I'm like, am I crazy? Like, am I the only one that is seeing this? And so what I found was when I started doing content, I am definitely not the only person seeing it. 99% of people are seeing it. And the 1% of people, generally the people making decisions, are not seeing it. And like the rest of us are just kind of trying to make it work. And that's not a dig on leadership, because it very rarely do the frustrations of service members come from malice from their senior leaders. That is something I've definitely learned. I literally just say out loud, like, what we're doing. Like, yeah, we're waiting here in formation for 4 hours. Like, why? Well, I mean, I don't know. The commander forgot that he set the formation time for noon. He went to lunch with the brigade commander, whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever it is. But yeah, it's been really funny talking about those issues, because I've had, a ton of battalion and brigade level leadership, both sergeants major and, light colonels and full bird colonels reach out to me and be like, I didn't even know like this was something that frustrated people. And they'll change policy or whatever. They'll write a new policy letter. So that's kind of cool. Like, the idea that maybe my video had a positive impact on even just a couple hundred people's lives is really, really cool to me. Very rewarding.
Yeah, we are still the greatest fighting force in the history of the world, and yet we don't always get it right. And I think the great thing is that you point it out. We make fun of it. We can laugh at it. But sometimes that's the only way we can learn about it instead of getting offended by it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I laugh at myself more than I laugh at anything else. So just know that when I'm making videos, I'm making fun of myself too. But yeah, like, I always, something that I include in some of the speeches that I give is the United States military is the only institution in the country that has always met its obligation to the nation, right? Not medicine, not education, not law enforcement, the United States military. And it's not because we've always gotten things right. And it's not because we've successfully accomplished every single mission, because we haven't. But when United States service members show up, they are ready to give their life for whatever they're doing. And that is our obligation. And so being able to acknowledge, the gravity of what we do, and then also being able to say like, hey, we don't get it right all the time, I think is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Feedback is a gift. And unfortunately, when we take ourselves too seriously, we don't want to hear the feedback. And so sometimes getting that feedback in ways of in humor and being made fun of, look, if you're an officer, they're making fun of you either way behind your back. You may just not know about it. And we've all done the stupid stuff. I mean, leadership is a skill that you don't just come out and, I studied leadership, I know how to lead. No, you learn by making the mistakes. And so even at the senior leader level, at the policy level, there are things that we've dialed back. And I think that's healthy. And I think it's good to make fun of it.
We've made lots of good changes. We've made good and bad changes, and I will not comment on specifics. But yeah, we always say it, we're a learning organization, and then you make a mistake, and sometimes you have a leader that really feels like we're not in a learning organization. And so I don't know. I like to preface, I don't have subordinates right now, but I always like to, in my like initial counseling or when I bring the group together, I always like to say like, I'll never get mad if you guys just bring things to me. And I always make myself available to talk any time of day or whatever, like, and I really mean it. And I've had people take me up on that, but yeah, I mean, we're people, we're flawed. Like many of us deeply flawed. And so we just don't get it right all the time.
Yeah, and once again, when our leaders don't get it right, like in the civilian world, it's not as funny when we make fun of them for some reason. But leaders fail all the time, and I think the more the leader tries to set themselves apart from the team, the more difficult it is for the team to relate. And humor is a leadership tool. Would you agree?
Oh my God. Humor is immediately disarming. If I can make you laugh, I've made you my friend. You are now my friend. If you're laughing, that's
Well,
how
you must
I,
be my friend then, because you're like,
that's how I look at it, honestly. Like, it's just, and it's so fun. And I've put my foot in my mouth more times than I count. I've learned when I can make jokes and when I can't. But like being able to inject a little bit of humor into a situation. Somebody left a comment on one of my videos that made me a little bit emotional. They were like, yeah, I remember him back from 212 Cav. He would always be making jokes in the field. And like, we really needed that in that unit. And I was just like, God, this person remembers me from 13 years ago. You know, that was my first unit. And so I don't know, it's cool. But yeah, humor and laughter and joy are leadership tools for sure. And quite frankly, we don't use them enough in the military.
yeah, and there are times when humor is not appropriate.
Yes.
But there are other times I think when it is absolutely necessary. And to squash that humor, you crush souls that way sometimes.
For sure.
So tell us the funniest thing you experienced in the military.
Oh, the funniest thing? Okay, so I went to PSYOP selection, and this is not a story of me pumping myself up because I did not get selected. But I went to PSYOP selection, and when we were like getting ready to do everything, I started making jokes. What I do in military schools is like I'll walk up to people and I'll be like, "Did you guys start the paper yet?" And then I'll like walk away, and people will be like, "What paper?" And they'll freak out. But when we got to PSYOP selection, we're all in this big room. I went, "Hey, did you guys study for the math test?" And this kid, I'll never forget this kid. One of the nicest people I've ever met in my life, but he had these gigantic Coke bottle glasses. He looks up and he goes, "Math test?" Like, and so the whole room's dying laughing. And I was like, dude, I don't think there's actually like a math, like why would we have to do a math test at PSYOP selection? And sure as shit, we did take a math test. There was a math test like 4 days in after we had it. We'd slept like 3 hours over the course of 4 days at that point. And we wrote papers, we did debates, and we did take a math test.
Wow. So as an influencer now in a veteran-led, we like to talk about, I'll preface it, was talking about the bigger, better future for veterans. That military service is extremely important, but for some of the greats, it's the foundation, it's the building block that goes on to even greater leadership opportunities and even greater professional opportunities. And for you, it looks like you're wearing your own swag. So tell us, you're already looking at the road ahead. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm going to get out at some point, you know, whether that is in 7 years and I retire or 2 years from now or somewhere in between. And so kind of the biggest thing that I'm grappling with is what is my advocacy going to be? Because this community has given me a platform. For whatever reason, for better or worse, the military and veteran community has said, we kind of like you. And they have given me this opportunity. And so it's kind of trying to figure out what I want to do to give back. And so that's been tough. Because like I talk a lot about mental health, and I feel like that is advocacy enough for where I'm at currently because I work full time. You know, I don't really have time to take on a ton of projects, but figuring out, you know, what I want to do. And so one of the things that I've been looking at is ways that TRICARE falls short for families, like spouses and children of service members. They don't necessarily get as much dental coverage as the service member does, for example. And like a specialist, if they get a $3,000 dental bill, they're just not getting their teeth fixed, you know. And I think that is, I think that's reprehensible. And so that's something that I'm looking at. I don't know. I'm kind of trying to figure out what I want to do. I work very closely with Black Rifle Coffee and the American Legion, and I will for as long as they'll have me. I love both of them. But figuring out what I want to advocate for and what that looks like is the biggest thing that I've been grappling with.
Yeah, I mean, you have the foundation for it. Now you have to be selective. You have the opportunities. And how do you go about making that decision? What's your decision-making process like at this point?
Oh God, that's one of the things that I learned early on is that I would try and tell everybody yes, and it just burned me out. It got me to a really dark place mentally. And so now I have to tell pretty much everybody all the time, no, like I don't have time. I cannot, my schedule doesn't support this.
But you don't say no to Camp Cowboy because you're here.
No, I don't say no to Camp Cowboy. The team here is phenomenal and they're doing amazing things for our community. But yeah, like, and it makes me happy when I do have the opportunity to do certain things. Like I had somebody reach out to me over, I think, email, and they're re-enlisting on Thursday. Is it Wednesday today? Yeah, they're re-enlisting tomorrow. And they were like, hey, I want you to be my re-enlistment officer. And I was like, absolutely. It just so happens he's in the unit right across the street from mine. And so I'm like, for sure, 100%. But yeah, I just have to say no to most people. And then I've had to kind of learn, like, what is the value that I put on my own time? Like if I'm going to take a day or a weekend or 5 days away from my kids, like how much is that worth to me? And then figuring out, like, and it's an uncomfortable conversation to have with people, like, or at least it was initially for me, the conversation about money. But that's been part of the learning process too. And I don't know, I'm really blessed because I have so many people reach out to me. I do get to just kind of pick what I want to do. And so that's kind of a cool aspect of where I'm at now.
Yeah. One of my great mentors said, success in life is getting paid to be who you are.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what you're doing right now, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, I truly am living my dream is what it feels like.
And once again, started with the military.
Yeah.
So you can live your dream. And I think that's what we've seen. Like I say, we've seen ultimate fighters. We've seen the people that maybe they just want to become a dentist, right? But the military can get you there. And that's the one thing that is so great about the military. Not just that we're the greatest fighting force in the history of the world and the best leaders you'll ever meet are in the military, but that if you really want to do something, the military can get you through college, get you a professional degree, can help you get the job you want, develop the skills you want. I mean, it is such an important part of our society. And yet, there's kids out there that say, well, I don't have the resources to do this. And I'm thinking, yeah, you do. Just you got to raise that hand and enlist.
Right. It helps you get a leg up in life through benefits. But really, it's what you go through. You know, as a lieutenant, you know, you are immediately put in charge of people, like up to and including their lives. You're put in charge of training. You're put in charge of sometimes millions of dollars worth of equipment. Like the average 24, 25-year-old is like, it doesn't have that on their resume, you know, and it's the same thing on the enlisted side too, assuming that you can make it to, you know, even the junior NCO ranks. Your resume can just look a lot better than your peers of the same age. And yeah, I talk to people all the time. People will message me and they'll be like, yeah, I want to join the military, but I don't like want to see combat. And I'm like, all right, be a paralegal or be a dental assistant or be a physical therapy assistant, an x-ray tech, vet tech. Like there are a bunch of jobs where you're probably not going to see combat. If we got the vet techs in combat, something's gone real wrong. But like there's so many opportunities, and I don't know, you truly, I feel like you can do anything in the military if you're willing to look hard enough for it and like really work for it.
Absolutely. And I think that the great thing is that progression keeps going. You can come in and think you're going to do one thing. You can switch MOSs.
Yeah.
You can do something entirely different, but that opportunity is there. And a lot of that opportunity comes from our leaders, which takes us to the after action review. I'd love to hear your three best examples of leadership and 3 worst examples of leadership. Don't have to name names, but your experiences either in the military or not in the military.
Yeah. So the best example of leadership I had a battalion commander at Fort Sill, and he could balance the needs of the mission with the needs of the individual. I don't know how he did it. Like, I think he had a crystal ball or something. Like he was doing some voodoo in the back room or something. I don't know, but he just did it so well. And like, I felt like my time was valued. And he also, so I got to Fort Sill and then I went to a BSB, a logistics unit, right? For the muggles out there. I'd always heard logistics units are where MI careers go to die, where military intelligence careers go to die, because there's no military intelligence there. Like, who are you getting mentorship from? But it was very much not the case. And it's because he decided to take a specific interest in me. So I got there and the captain that was supposed to be my OIC was retiring. And so then it was just me and a soldier for this entire battalion. And he was like, hey, I'm going to help you, but I still expect like a captain's worth of work to be getting done here. And there was a lot of stress, but I did get it done. And it's all thanks to him. He would sit down with me in the field. You know, he would pull me to the side in the office and he would mentor me. And he's the reason why I'm an officer now. I'll never forget. I got back from ALC, the advanced leader course, to get promoted to staff sergeant. And I went into my sergeant major's office and I was like, hey, I want to go on recruiting duty. Like, I'm about to finish my bachelor. I want to knock out a master's on recruiting duty, and then I want to get out of the Army. And he was like, man, you know, you've been doing like both the OIC and COIC role for so long. We like really thought you were going to go to OCS. And I was like, it's just not for me. I don't really want to be an officer, yada, yada. I gave all the normal excuses. But he was like, all right, I'll talk to the battalion commander about it. Well, the next day, the battalion commander saw me in the motor pool. And he immediately made a beeline for me. And so I was like, all right, who like is in jail? Like, what property is missing? What did I do wrong? You know, I think I was still an E5 at this point because I hadn't been promoted yet. But like when your battalion commander is walking towards you and you're very much a junior leader, you're like, ah, crap. What did I do? But he was like, Sergeant Major told me you want to go recruiting and get out of the Army. And I was like, yes, sir. And he goes, you're not getting out of the Army. He said, you're going to OCS. He said, I've already written your letter of recommendation and this is happening. And I was like, sir, I don't know how to be an officer. And he's like, what do you think OCS teaches you? And I was like, all right, you got me there. OCS did not teach me how to be an officer. It did humble me for sure. Yeah, so that was an amazing example of really good leadership. I think you asked me for 3. I've had so many leaders that took an interest in me enough. The biggest thing, the most impactful thing for me, I very much wear my emotions outwardly. And so when somebody's willing to stop me and be like, are you good? That means a lot. Because I won't talk about it. Like, I won't talk about it really. I don't know. I'll just kind of go about my day. But when people are willing to engage with that kind of stuff, I don't know, that's really, really meaningful to me. And so that would be the advice that I give to, like, especially junior leaders. It feels uncomfortable, but it shouldn't, you know, and it won't be uncomfortable after a while, after you get a little better at it. Just ask the question, you know, are you good? And they might say, yeah, and they might not be good, but at least they know you care. You know, you've done something, you've developed a little trust or whatever. You've gotten a rep in on potentially having an awkward conversation. Now, bad leadership. I'm not even going to say what duty station this was at, but there was a unit I was in, and I don't know how it worked out this way, but there were 3 separate times when we were in the office until 2300 or later, and we had a 0-4 division run. And I don't know if they planned it. I don't know why they would plan us to only get like 4 hours of sleep before a division run, but I swear to God. And that also happened to be the unit where I'm pretty sure every single time I had duty, it was always on the weekend. Every time.
Yeah, that division run, I mean, it really robs. And think about it, you're not getting the sleep, and then it's not like you're getting a workout. You know, you're going to run at a 10-minute shuffle, or 12 pace. 12. Fair enough. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and it was always, we're buying back time is what they would tell us. That's why we were in the office late. And then I don't know where all the time went. Like, somebody has that time somewhere, I think in a room somewhere, like in a drawer. I don't know, because I never saw it. But the number one thing for me, how I want to be showed that leaders care, is just respect my time. And I fully recognize we're in the military, so there's no like standard hours, right? Sometimes you're going to work until 11 o'clock or whatever. And I've had plenty of those nights. But time is so precious, you can't get it back. You can go do something else. You can go make more money. You cannot get back time, you know? And so it's frustrating. But yeah. Another piece of advice, value your service members' time for the junior leaders out there.
So don't be an oxygen thief, but also don't be a time thief.
Yes, yeah. Don't be a thief of anything, I guess, unless it's like hardship. If you want to take on other people's hardship, do that.
Absolutely. All right. As we come to a close, where can veterans, and most veterans know who you are, but where can veterans learn more about you and your mission? So
I'm on every major social media platform as Mandatory Fun Day. on X, for some reason, somebody already has it. I've tried messaging him. He hasn't messaged me back yet, but I'm the Monotone Mustang on X. And then you can go to themandatoryfunday.com, and I've got a bunch of stuff on my website. I've actually recently started doing geopolitics content. Surprised that hasn't gotten me in trouble yet, but it is very funny. So go check that out on YouTube.
Well, thank you so much for coming on to Veteran Led and all that you do for the veteran community. Your dedication to your country is so important, but also your dedication to all the soldiers, making them laugh and pointing out the stupidity that we as leaders do, making fun of it so that we can laugh at ourselves and get better. Thank you for joining us today on Veteran Led, where we pursue our mission of promoting veteran leadership in business, strengthening the veteran community, and getting veterans all of the benefits that they earned. If you know a leader who should be on the Veteran Led podcast, report to our online community by searching @Veteran Led on your favorite social channels and posting in the comments. We want to hear how your military challenges prepared you to lead your industry or community, and we will let the world know. And of course, hit subscribe and join me next time on Veteran Led.